The alarm rings, and for a brief second you stand at a crossroads between two lives. One life keeps you under the warm blankets, postponing effort, drifting with the day. The other life begins when you place your feet on the floor before the world stirs, choosing discipline over comfort. Most people never recognize how powerful that small moment is. They surrender to a few more minutes in bed and assume it doesn't matter. But those who decide otherwise gradually unlock a different kind of life. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not just a matter of getting up earlier. It is an act of claiming control over your time, your decisions, and ultimately your direction in life. The early morning is a unique window. The world is quiet, distractions are minimal, and your mental energy is at its purest. There are no messages demanding a reply, no meetings, no social media noise. In that rare silence, your thoughts are your own. Those who use this time intentionally do not start the day feeling behind. They begin already ahead, having invested in themselves while most people are still asleep. Many believe they don't have time to work out, think deeply, read, or plan, yet they often allow the most powerful hours of the day to vanish in sleep or chaos. The real issue is not time, but priorities, and the 5 a.m. habit is a daily statement that your growth comes first. Discipline is the quiet engine behind all real success, and few habits build discipline like consistently rising early. When waking at 5 a.m. becomes non-negotiable, it reshapes your entire life. You train yourself to override the impulse for immediate comfort and to act in alignment with long-term goals. Each morning you step out of bed despite resistance, you win a small but significant battle, reinforcing the belief that you are in control of your choices. Over time, this strength spreads into other areas: how you work, how you handle setbacks, how you stick to commitments when motivation fades. There is also a biological advantage. The brain tends to operate at peak clarity in the early hours, before it is overloaded with information and decisions. Start the day in a rush, barely on time, and you carry that frantic energy into everything you do. Start it in calm, with reflection, movement, and strategic planning, and you set a tone of order and focus. While it might seem that waking earlier would make you more tired, the opposite usually happens when you align your sleep schedule and protect your rest. The sluggishness of late mornings and chaotic starts disappears, replaced by a steady, controlled momentum. Productivity is not about working longer, it's about working with better attention. Many early risers get more important work done by 9 a.m. than others do all day, simply because their willpower is high and distractions are low. Night owls often believe they work best at night, but in many cases their habits, screens, late snacking, irregular sleep, have conditioned them into that pattern, often at the cost of deep, restorative rest. Aligning your life closer to the natural light-dark cycle usually leads to better health, sharper thinking, and more stable energy. Transitioning to a 5 a.m. wake-up doesn't require a brutal overnight shift. It's a gradual process of going to bed earlier, cutting down late-night noise, and giving yourself a compelling reason to rise. When your morning has purpose, exercise, learning, planning, building a project, 5 a.m. stops feeling like a sacrifice and starts feeling like an opportunity. Every structured, intentional morning becomes a brick in the foundation of your future.
The seduction of the snooze button is subtle but powerful. You tell yourself it's just 5 more minutes, just a brief extension of comfort before you really begin the day. But 5 minutes becomes 10, then 20, then an hour, and the morning you had planned evaporates before your eyes. You get up rushed, annoyed with yourself, already feeling behind. While it may seem like a harmless habit, hitting snooze is much more than a small delay. It's practice in postponing what matters. The way you respond to the alarm often mirrors how you respond to other commitments in life. When you repeatedly choose short-term comfort over your long-term goals first thing in the morning, you reinforce a pattern of avoidance. The gym session you start next week, the book you will read someday, the business idea that never leaves your imagination. Success is built on a series of decisions that favor your future self over your current comfort. The decision not to snooze is the first of those decisions each day. Your mind, especially when half asleep, is an expert negotiator. It whispers excuses. It's too cold. You slept late. You deserve a break. 5 more minutes won't matter. These aren't facts. They're impulses from a brain that prefers the easy path. Understanding this is crucial because the battle is rarely about physical fatigue alone. It's about what you choose to believe in that groggy moment. Real victory over snooze is won before the alarm rings, through preparation and commitment. Physiologically, hitting snooze doesn't even give your body what it wants. After you wake briefly to silence the alarm and fall back asleep, your brain may begin another sleep cycle that is then abruptly interrupted again. This fragmented sleep increases grogginess, known as sleep inertia, and makes it harder, not easier, to feel fully awake. The only way to truly feel alert is to get up decisively the moment the alarm goes off. That decisive action is easier when you've respected your body the night before. Most people don't actually have a waking up problem, they have a going to bed problem. Staying up scrolling on your phone, watching just one more episode, or lying in bed replaying the day robs you of the quality sleep that makes early rising possible. Setting a consistent bedtime that allows you enough rest is the first step. The second step is designing your environment so snoozing becomes inconvenient. Place your alarm or phone across the room. Force yourself to stand up to turn it off. Once you're on your feet, momentum can start. Drink a glass of water, splash cool water on your face, open the curtains or switch on bright light. These small cues tell your body it's time to be awake. Give yourself a strong reason to rise as well. A scheduled workout with a friend, time blocked for a passion project, or a journaling ritual you value. When your first minutes are connected to something meaningful, bed loses its hold. Accountability also helps. Telling someone your goal, joining a challenge, or using a tracking app adds external pressure that supports your internal desire. The first days of breaking the snooze habit will feel uncomfortable. Your body and mind will push back. That's normal. Habits are simply repeated choices, and with enough consistency, the new pattern becomes as automatic as the old one was. Refuse to negotiate with your half-asleep mind. Make getting up your default. Over time, this single act of morning discipline strengthens your self-control everywhere else. Once you're out of bed, what you do in the next 10 to 20 minutes can determine how you feel for the rest of the day. Many people wake up feeling heavy, foggy, and stiff, then assume they are not morning people. In reality, they simply haven't learned how to properly activate their bodies and minds after sleep. Sleep is a deep reset for your system. Your brain processes memories and emotions, your muscles recover, your hormones rebalance. But the shift from that deep, inward-focused repair mode to full wakefulness isn't instant. If you stay still, stare at a screen, and remain in dim light, your brain gets mixed signals and tries to hold on to sleep. That sense of grogginess is not a sign that more fragmented sleep is needed. It's a signal that your body is waiting for you to guide it into wakefulness. The first instruction you should give your system is movement, not scrolling. Standing up straight, stretching your arms overhead, twisting gently, rolling your shoulders, or doing a few simple squats sends immediate feedback to your nervous system. The day has begun. When your muscles move, your heart rate increases slightly, blood flow improves, and oxygen moves more efficiently to your brain. This physical activation starts clearing the mental fog. The connection between body and mind is direct. If the body stays passive and collapsed, the brain doesn't fully engage.
If the body stands tall and moves on purpose, the mind wakes up to match it. Hydration is another often ignored but powerful tool. After 6 to 8 hours without water, many people wake up mildly dehydrated. Even a small level of dehydration can impair thinking, slow reaction times, and lower energy. Reaching for coffee first thing is a common habit, but starting with water is wiser. A large glass of water within the first minutes of waking begins rehydrating your cells, supports digestion, and helps you feel more alert. Coffee can come later, but water is the real fuel your body needs right away. Alongside movement and hydration, light is one of the strongest signals you can send your internal clock. Your circadian rhythm, the 24-hour cycle regulating sleep, hormones, and energy, responds directly to light entering your eyes. If you keep the room dark, your brain continues to produce melatonin, the sleep hormone, and wakefulness is harder. Opening the curtains, stepping onto a balcony, standing at a window, or even turning on bright lights inside starts to switch this off and tells your body it's daytime. Morning light, in particular, helps regulate your mood and improves your sleep quality at night. Add to this conscious breathing. Most of us breathe shallowly without realizing it, which keeps us in a low-energy state. Just 3 to 5 deep breaths, inhaling slowly through the nose, filling your lungs and expanding your belly, then exhaling fully through the mouth, can calm your nervous system while also energizing you. Finally, activate your mind with intention, not reactions. Resist the urge to open messages or social feeds. Instead, use the first few minutes for quiet reflection, journaling, reading something uplifting, or simply sitting still and noticing your thoughts. The early morning is when your mind is clearest before the noise of the day intrudes. By choosing what you feed your mind at this time, you shape your emotional state and focus for hours to come. A short, simple routine, water, light, movement, breathing, and a moment of clarity doesn't take long, but it can completely change how powerful and awake you feel.
There's a popular saying, "Win the morning, win the day." Behind the cliché lies a simple truth. Most people drift through their mornings on autopilot, reacting rather than leading. They wake up late, grab their phone, get pulled into messages, race through getting ready, and rush out the door already stressed. By the time they sit down to work, their mind has been hijacked by other people's demands, and the emotional tone of their day is set, rushed, distracted, and reactive. In contrast, those who win their mornings begin differently. They treat the early hours as the most important part of the day and design them with intention. Winning the morning is not about having a complicated or perfect routine. It's about eliminating unnecessary friction and making space for what matters. Every decision you have to make in the morning, what to wear, where to find your keys, what to do first, uses up mental energy. Successful people understand this, so they reduce the number of decisions. They lay out clothes the night before, prepare bags or equipment in advance, plan their key tasks ahead of time, and follow a routine that becomes almost automatic. When the basics are handled without effort, your mind remains free to focus on higher value thinking. The goal is a morning that flows smoothly, rather than one filled with tiny obstacles that drain your willpower before you've done any meaningful work. What enters your mind first thing also matters enormously. If you allow the first thing you see to be breaking news, noisy social media, or a flood of other people's problems, you begin your day in a state of stress or comparison. Alternatively, if your morning starts with something positive and grounding, reading a few pages of a good book, writing in a journal, meditating, or simply reviewing your priorities, you prime your brain for clarity and purpose. The morning should be treated like an investment account where you deposit time into things that bring a return: your health, your learning, your deepest work, your relationships with yourself and others.
Instead of wasting this quiet period on distractions, use it to move the needle on what truly matters. One powerful part of winning the morning is building momentum. Don't wait for motivation to appear, let action create it. Begin with one meaningful task that, when completed, gives you a real sense of accomplishment. It could be a workout, a writing session, or finalizing a key piece of work. Completing such a task early makes the rest of the day feel easier because you've already achieved something significant. At the same time, take care of your physical state. Feed your body something that supports energy instead of grabbing the quickest sugar-filled option. Combine that with your early movement, hydration, and light exposure, and you'll feel sharper and more capable. Mornings are also ideal for deep, distraction-free focus before the world wakes up fully. When you use this time to do your most important thinking or creating, rather than mundane tasks, the rest of the day becomes about execution instead of scrambling. A well-designed morning doesn't require extreme discipline every minute. It requires consistency in a few key habits. When you regularly start your day calmly, with intention and a sense of progress, you carry that confidence and control into everything else. We live in a time when almost everything is designed to pull your attention away from what you're doing. From the second many people wake up, they're surrounded by notifications, messages, and an endless stream of content calling for just a quick check. The result is a life lived in fragments. A few minutes of work here, a glance at the phone there, constant switching between tasks. This kind of scattered focus is exhausting because your brain is repeatedly forced to restart its concentration. You can feel busy all day, replying to emails, checking messages, handling small requests, yet end the day with the uneasy sense that nothing truly important moved forward. That's the trap of shallow work, activity without meaningful progress. Truly successful people have learned to operate differently. They understand that their best thinking, their most creative ideas, and their most valuable contributions come from what is often called deep work, extended periods of focus on one demanding task with no distractions. In deep work, your mind enters a flow state. Time passes quickly, your work feels both challenging and rewarding. Instead of skimming the surface of many things, you dive deeply into one and actually build something that matters. Early mornings are the ideal time for this because external demands are at their lowest and your mind is still fresh. However, getting into deep work requires retraining your brain. Most of us have unknowingly trained ourselves to crave constant stimulation. Checking your phone every few minutes, hopping between browser tabs, or responding instantly to every ping gives your brain tiny hits of dopamine, the reward chemical. Over time, you become less tolerant of boredom and more dependent on constant novelty. This makes it difficult to stay with a single task for more than a few minutes. To reverse this, you must deliberately remove distractions and create an environment that encourages focus. Start by clearing your workspace. Reduce visual clutter, close unnecessary tabs on your devices, and most importantly, put your phone out of sight and reach. Research and experience both show that even seeing your phone can split your attention. Noise-canceling headphones, a quiet room, or background sounds that help you concentrate can further protect your focus. Then, use time blocking. Choose a specific block of time, perhaps 60 to 90 minutes in the early morning, dedicated to one significant task. During that block, you do not check messages, browse, or multitask. You accept that the world can survive without your immediate responses. Many people fear that they'll fall behind if they don't reply instantly, but in reality, most things can wait an hour. Deep work is not about ignoring your responsibilities. It's about structuring your day so that both focused effort and necessary communication have their place. Understanding your own energy patterns also matters. Schedule your hardest mental work when your energy is naturally highest, which for many is in the morning after waking. As you practice deep work regularly, your ability to focus strengthens just like a muscle. Over weeks and months, this leads not only to greater productivity, but also to better problem solving, higher quality output, and a deep sense of satisfaction that no amount of mindless scrolling can match. Starting your day without clear goals is like starting a journey without a destination. You may be moving all day, but you're likely to end up somewhere you didn't intend, wondering where the time went. Many people wake up and almost immediately get swept into other people's priorities, urgent emails, requests, notifications, and obligations, before they've spent a single minute asking themselves what they actually want from the day. The early morning offers a rare chance to change that. When you wake at 5 a.m., your mind is relatively empty of the day's clutter. This is the perfect time to decide what truly matters for the hours ahead. Morning goal setting is not about building a long, overwhelming to-do list that you'll never finish. It's about bringing intention and direction to your time. Begin by simply asking, what would make today a successful day? Or, what is the one thing I can do today that will move me closer to my long-term vision? These questions cut through noise and force you to identify what's genuinely important, rather than what just feels urgent. Instead of drifting through the day reacting, you start with clarity about what you want to create or complete. To make this practical, break your goals down into specific, actionable steps. A vague goal like be healthier doesn't guide your actions, but go for a 30-minute run at 6 a.m. or prepare a healthy lunch instead of buying fast food does. Likewise, work on my business is unclear, but outline 3 new ideas for my product or contact 2 potential clients is precise. Use a notebook, journal, or digital tool, whatever you prefer, to write down 3 to 5 key outcomes you want from the day. Include both professional and personal items, maybe a crucial work task, time with family, exercise, and a small step toward a long-term dream. Writing your goals makes them concrete and gives your brain a clear set of targets to work toward. It's also helpful to regularly connect your daily goals to your bigger picture. Spend a few minutes each morning briefly reviewing your long-term goals, the career you want, the financial situation you're building, the health you desire, the person you want to become. Then check whether today's actions align with that vision. This link between daily behavior and long-term purpose is what keeps you motivated when tasks feel tedious. Visualization can reinforce this. Take a moment to imagine yourself successfully completing your most important tasks today, and more broadly, living the life you're working toward. Feel what that success would be like. This mental rehearsal prepares your mind to take the actions needed. Remember, though, that goal setting is not a rigid contract. Life is unpredictable. Some days things will change, and you'll need to adapt. The power is in having a clear starting point. Even if your schedule shifts, you return to the question, given what's changed, what are the most important things I can still do today? Over time, this morning practice of intentional goal setting builds mental discipline, resilience, and a powerful sense of control over your life.
Deciding to wake up at 5 a.m. is one thing. Living it every day is another. In the beginning, you may feel a surge of motivation. You wake early for a few days, feel proud, maybe even excited. But then the novelty wears off. Your bed starts to feel more inviting. Your late-night habits creep back in, and suddenly the 5 a.m. alarm feels like an enemy again. This is where most people quit, not because they are weak, but because they rely on motivation, which is unreliable by nature. To make the 5 a.m. habit truly stick, you have to move beyond willpower and build a system that makes waking early as automatic as brushing your teeth. Habits form when a particular cue triggers a routine that leads to a reward. In this case, the cue is the alarm, the routine is getting up and following your morning plan, and the reward is the sense of progress, clarity, and well-being you gain. To support this, start by designing your evenings. Your morning success begins the night before. Set a specific, consistent bedtime that gives you enough sleep.
Going to bed at midnight and waking at 5 is not sustainable for most people. Turn off screens at least 30 to 60 minutes before bed, or use them only for calming content to reduce mental stimulation and blue light exposure that can disrupt sleep. Lay out your clothes, prepare your workspace, and set up anything you'll need for exercise, reading, or work. This turns your morning from a struggle into a sequence of simple steps already prepared for you. Consistency is the next critical ingredient. Your body has an internal clock that loves regularity. When you wake at the same time every day, including weekends with only small variations, your body begins to anticipate that time. After a while, you may find yourself waking up naturally shortly before your alarm. This transition doesn't happen in 2 or 3 days. It might take a few weeks of steady practice. Accept that there will be mornings when you don't feel like getting up. That discomfort is part of rewiring your habits. You can also make the habit more appealing by attaching it to things you enjoy. Instead of thinking, I have to get up early to be productive, frame it as, I get quiet time to read a book I love, or I have space to work on my dream project. When your morning routine includes activities that genuinely excite or nourish you, you're more likely to follow through. To reduce dependence on motivation, create a clear, simple routine you follow every morning in the same order: wake, water, light, movement, planning, deep work, for example. When the sequence is fixed, you don't waste mental energy deciding what to do. You just move from one step to the next. Tracking your progress can also be powerful. Use a calendar and mark every day you wake at 5 a.m. As the streak grows, you'll feel more committed to continuing. Accountability adds an extra layer. Tell a friend, join a group, or share your goal with someone you respect. Knowing others are aware of your commitment makes it harder to quit silently. And when setbacks happen, as they inevitably will, respond with patience instead of self-attack. If you oversleep one day, don't use it as a reason to give up. See it as a data point. Ask what made it harder: staying up too late, stressful day, poor planning? Adjust and get back on track the next morning. The difference between people who build lasting habits and those who don't is not that the first group never fails, it's that they refuse to let a single failure turn into a permanent pattern.
For many people, weekends are the trap that quietly destroys their weekday progress. From Monday to Friday, they push themselves to wake early, follow routines, and stay disciplined. Then, Saturday arrives and the mindset shifts. I deserve a break. I'll sleep in. I'll get back to it on Monday. While rest is absolutely important, abandoning your wake-up time entirely every weekend can undo much of the rhythm you worked so hard to build. Your body doesn't know the difference between weekday and weekend. It only knows consistency. When you wake at 5 a.m. 5 days in a row, and then suddenly wake at 9 a.m. 2 days in a row, your internal clock gets confused. By Monday, 5 a.m. feels painful again, not because you can't do it, but because you've disrupted the very pattern you're trying to establish. The key is not to treat weekends as a full escape from your habits, but as a lighter, more flexible version of them. Waking early on weekends doesn't mean you have to fill those hours with intense work or non-stop productivity. Instead, it can be a time to enjoy the benefits of your early rising in a more relaxed way. The 5 a.m. habit is not about punishment. It's about creating a life that supports your growth every day. Start by reframing what weekends mean. Instead of seeing them as days to abandon structure completely, see them as days to maintain your foundation while giving yourself room to recharge. If waking at 5 a.m. every single day feels too strict at first, consider a slight adjustment rather than a total break. For example, you might wake at 5:30 or 6 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. This still protects your early morning rhythm while allowing a small amount of extra rest. Use weekend mornings for activities that you don't always have time for during the week, but that nourish you deeply. Longer walks, unhurried reading, writing for pleasure, planning your upcoming week, or practicing a hobby.
Because you're not rushing to work, these hours can become some of the most enjoyable of your entire week. They're a chance to connect with yourself without pressure. Maintaining your wake-up time on weekends also sets up the next week for success. When Monday comes, your body and mind are already in the groove. There's no jarring transition from sleeping late to waking early. Psychologically, waking early on weekends sends a powerful message to yourself. My commitment to my growth doesn't depend on the day of the week. That builds self-respect and confidence. At the same time, balance is essential. If you are genuinely sleep-deprived or have had an unusually demanding week, it may be healthier to go to bed earlier than usual and still wake close to your normal time, rather than staying up late and sleeping in. The goal is to honor both discipline and rest. You can be consistent without being rigid. Small deviations, rising an hour later, taking a lighter morning, won't break your habit as long as the overall rhythm remains stable. What you must avoid is turning weekends into an excuse that repeatedly pulls you back to old patterns. Think of your 5 a.m. habit as part of your lifestyle, not just part of your work schedule. When your mornings, including weekends, support your best self, the entire structure of your life becomes stronger.
Human beings are wired to learn through stories. When we see or hear about someone who has transformed their life, it does more than impress us. It shows us what is possible. Behind almost every story of extraordinary success lies a much less glamorous reality. Years of small, consistent actions taken long before anyone was watching. The habit of waking up at 5 a.m. is one of those quiet actions. It's easy to look at highly successful people and imagine that they got where they are through some overnight breakthrough or special advantage. In truth, their journeys are full of early mornings when nobody was there to applaud them, when they chose to get up despite fatigue and doubts, when their dreams were just ideas and not yet results. When you study the routines of many top performers across fields, you notice a pattern. CEOs, athletes, artists, and creators repeatedly point to their morning routines as a foundation of their success. The exact details vary, but the principle is the same. They carve out time early in the day before urgent tasks and interruptions to shape their minds, bodies, and priorities. These stories matter not because you should copy them exactly, but because they prove that intentional mornings are a common thread running through very different lives of achievement. Take, for instance, leaders like Tim Cook, often reported to rise hours before sunrise to review his day, focus on health, and get ahead of communication before his schedule fills. Or consider Oprah Winfrey, who has described her early mornings as sacred. She doesn't just wake up early to answer emails. She uses that time to meditate, exercise, read, and center herself spiritually and mentally before stepping into the demands of her role. Robin Sharma, whose work on the 5 a.m. concept has impacted millions, built his philosophy by observing how high performers protect their mornings for learning, creation, and reflection. These individuals do not wake early to brag about how little they sleep. They understand the value of rest and structure their lives so that early mornings are sustainable. What they share is a deep respect for those first hours after waking. They use them to think strategically instead of reactively, to invest in their health, to work on their craft, and to nurture their inner life. But the most important success story you'll ever encounter is your own. You may not be a CEO or a global icon, but the same principles apply. You have dreams, responsibilities, and untapped potential. You have the same 24 hours as anyone else. The question is how you will use them. There will be mornings when staying in bed feels easier, when progress feels slow, when you doubt whether these early hours are worth it. Those are the defining moments. The people we admire are not those who never felt resistance. They are the ones who kept going anyway. By choosing, day after day, to wake up early and act with intention, you are writing your own success story in small chapters. Others may one day see the results and call them lucky or talented, but you'll know the truth. It began with the decision to show up before the world was watching.
In the first days and weeks of waking at 5 a.m., everything in you may push back. Your body complains, your mind invents clever excuses, and your old habits try to pull you back to what's familiar. This resistance is normal. Any meaningful change feels uncomfortable at first because you are asking yourself to live differently than you have before. But if you stay with it, if you keep getting up, keep following your routine, keep choosing your future over your comfort, a shift begins to occur. What once felt like a fight starts to feel like a choice. You begin to look forward to the quiet of the morning, to the sense of space before the world wakes up. The 5 a.m. habit stops being a burden and becomes a privilege, a gift you give yourself. Instead of starting your day in reaction, you begin it in creation. You notice that by 8 or 9 a.m., you've already accomplished things that used to get pushed to someday. A workout completed, pages written, strategies planned, time spent in reflection or learning. This sense of early progress changes how you experience the rest of the day. Challenges feel more manageable because you are already standing on a solid foundation. You no longer feel as though you are constantly catching up. You feel like you are leading. As this habit settles in, it does more than change your schedule. It changes how you see yourself. Every time you wake up at 5 a.m., when it would be easier not to, you send yourself a powerful message. I keep my promises. I can do hard things. I am in charge of my life. Over weeks and months, these messages accumulate into a new identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is always tired, always behind, always overwhelmed, and start seeing yourself as someone disciplined, focused, and capable. That identity shift spills into everything: how you work, how you relate to others, how you handle setbacks, how you dream. You also develop a deeper respect for time. The empty hours you once wasted now appear clearly as opportunities. You procrastinate less, not because you suddenly became superhuman, but because you feel the weight and value of each day more keenly. The compounding effect of your early mornings becomes visible. More progress on your goals, better health, calmer emotions, clearer thinking. But even then, remember that this journey is not about perfection. There will be days you oversleep, mornings that feel flat, weeks that are harder than others. That does not erase the progress you've made. What matters is what you do next. You can always return to your 5 a.m. commitment the very next day. In that sense, every morning is a fresh start, a new chance to move closer to the person you want to become. Your life at 5 a.m. is not about joining some exclusive club or following a trend. It is about taking ownership of your time and your potential. It is about realizing that small, consistent actions, waking early, moving your body, focusing your mind, setting your intentions, can, over time, create extraordinary change. When you choose to rise while others sleep, you are not just starting your day, you are quietly building a life of discipline, growth, and purpose. And that life, one morning at a time, is worth waking up for. Behind every person you admire, the entrepreneur who built something from nothing, the athlete who never seems to run out of energy, the artist who continually produces meaningful work, the leader who stays calm and focused, there is almost always a quiet, invisible pattern. They have learned to master their mornings. Their success is not only about talent, opportunity, or intelligence. It is about what they consistently do in the hours when no one is watching. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not a magic spell, but it is a powerful structure. It gives you time when the world is silent, when your phone is not buzzing, when your energy is fresh and your attention is your own. In those early hours, you are not yet pulled into other people's demands or the noise of the day. You stand at the doorway of a new day with one simple, powerful choice. Will you drift into it, or will you lead it? The 5 a.m. habit is not just getting up early, it is a daily declaration that your growth, your goals, and your peace matter enough to be given the first and best part of your day. When you consistently claim this time and use it well, you start to notice something. You feel less rushed, less reactive, and less scattered. You think more clearly, act more deliberately, and build momentum before most people have even begun. This book is about helping you make that shift, not by forcing yourself through sheer willpower, but by understanding how mornings shape your mind, your body, your discipline, and your results. In the pages that follow, we will break down the 5 a.m. habit into practical, understandable pieces so that you can actually live it, not just admire it. We'll start with why 5 a.m. is so effective, then move into how to break the snooze-button cycle that keeps you trapped in half-decisions and broken promises to yourself. You'll learn how to activate your mind and body the moment you wake up so that you feel genuinely alive instead of heavy and tired. We will talk about how to win the morning by building a simple, intentional routine and how to use those hours for deep work instead of distractions. You'll discover how to set clear goals at 5 a.m., how to make your new habit automatic instead of a daily struggle, and how to stay consistent even on weekends without burning out. We'll also look at real success stories from well-known achievers and, more importantly, how you can become one of those stories in your own life. Finally, we'll explore what your new life at 5 a.m. actually looks like, not just more productivity, but more control, more clarity, more self-respect. This is not about perfection, it is about progress, one early morning at a time. If you are ready to stop feeling like time is always slipping away from you and start using it with intention, the journey begins with a single decision: tomorrow's alarm.
Every morning, your alarm presents you with a quiet, powerful crossroads. One path keeps you under the blankets, where it's warm, familiar, and safe. The other path asks you to stand up in the dark before the world moves and step into a day you have chosen rather than one that just happens to you. Most people unconsciously choose the first path, telling themselves that 5 more minutes won't hurt, that they'll start tomorrow, that they're simply not morning people. Yet over weeks, months, and years, those 5 extra minutes accumulate not just into lost time, but into lost opportunities for growth, lost chances to think clearly, lost space to build the life they say they want. Waking at 5 a.m. is often misunderstood as a kind of punishment, something harsh and joyless. In reality, it is the opposite. It is giving yourself a gift that most people deny themselves, the gift of undisturbed time when your mind is clear and the world has not yet started pulling at you. At 5 a.m., no one is asking you for anything. There are no urgent meetings, no crowded inbox, no social media drama demanding your attention. Those hours belong to you in a way that no other time of day does. When you claim them, you begin your day from a place of ownership rather than obligation. You are no longer instantly reacting to what others want. You are first asking, what do I want to build today? The deeper reason to wake at 5 a.m. is discipline. Every meaningful change in life, getting fit, building a business, improving your skills, changing your finances, healing your mindset, requires consistent, often boring action. That consistency is impossible without discipline, the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Few daily acts strengthen discipline more than choosing to rise when your comfort begs you to stay in bed. When you make 5 a.m. non-negotiable, you train yourself to prioritize long-term benefits over short-term comfort. Over time, this rewires how you see yourself. You are no longer the person who talks about change but never follows through. You are the person who keeps promises to yourself. Beyond the psychological effect, there is also a biological advantage.
Your brain is often at its clearest in the early morning, before decision fatigue and information overload set in. Start your day late and rushed, and that frantic energy infects everything. You feel like you are constantly catching up. Start your day early and calmly, and you create a sense of control. You have time to move your body, reflect, plan, and start important work before the world intrudes. Even those who call themselves night owls are often simply reacting to habits formed around screens and late-night distractions. When you slowly shift your schedule to honor the natural light-dark rhythm, going to bed earlier, rising earlier, you usually find that your energy stabilizes, your sleep deepens, and your thinking sharpens. Waking at 5 a.m. is not about forcing an unnatural life. It is about aligning your life with what your mind and body can do at their best. If there is one small button that quietly steals more dreams than almost anything else, it is the snooze button. On the surface, it seems harmless. You hit it, gain a few extra minutes of rest, and promise yourself you'll get up when the alarm rings again. But those extra minutes do not bring genuine rest. Instead, they create a pattern of delay. In the moment between the first alarm and the snooze, you are making a choice. Do I honor what I decided last night, or do I escape into temporary comfort? Each time you choose snooze, you strengthen the mental pathway that says, I don't have to do what I said I would, at least not yet. That pattern does not stay limited to mornings. It leaks into your workouts. I'll start next week. Your learning. I'll read when I have more time. Your goals. I'll work on that project when life is less busy. Soon, you are living in a permanent state of later, and later almost never comes. Breaking this cycle starts with understanding that snoozing is not a neutral habit. It is an active practice of postponing your life. When you see it that way, the decision at 5 a.m. takes on a new weight. It becomes your first daily test of whether you are serious about change. From a physical standpoint, snoozing actually makes waking harder, not easier. When your alarm goes off and you partially wake, your brain begins shifting out of deep sleep. If you hit snooze and fall back asleep, your brain can drift into another sleep cycle that will then be interrupted again when the alarm rings. This fragmented sleep confuses your system, intensifies grogginess, and leaves you feeling heavier than if you had just gotten up the first time. The real solution is not to keep buying more elaborate alarms, but to change the decisions surrounding your alarm. Start the night before. Set a realistic bedtime that gives you enough sleep and commit to it. Turn off stimulating screens well before bed and avoid heavy meals or stressful conversations just before sleeping. Place your phone or alarm clock across the room, so you must physically get out of bed to turn it off. As soon as you stand, take one small action that moves you forward. Drink a glass of water, turn on the light, open the curtains, or step into the bathroom. The key is not to allow yourself to lie back down. At the same time, give your early waking a purpose that excites or matters to you. Exercise, learning, writing, planning, prayer, or meditation. When there is something meaningful attached to that first hour, getting up is not just an act of denial. I can't sleep more. It becomes an act of choice. I get to use this time for myself. Add accountability if needed. Tell a friend your plan, join a challenge, or track your streak on a calendar. The hardest part is the first week or two. After that, as your body adjusts and your new pattern strengthens, the urge to snooze weakens. Each morning you refuse to hit snooze, you prove to yourself that you are capable of change.
Many people assume that if they feel exhausted in the morning, they must not be morning people, or that waking early simply doesn't work for them. But often the real problem is not the time on the clock, it is how they transition from sleep to wakefulness. Think about what most people do. The alarm rings, they grab the phone, lie flat in bed, scrolling through messages or social media, stay in the dark with curtains closed, and move as little as possible. In that state, of course they feel half asleep. Their body has received no signals that it's time to fully wake up.
Sleep is a deep repair process for your body and mind. During the night, your brain sorts memories, your tissues recover, your hormones reset. When morning comes, your system needs a clear set of signals to change gears. If you remain still, in darkness, staring at a bright screen inches from your face, your brain gets conflicting messages. Part of it still thinks it is night, while another part is stimulated by artificial light and content. No wonder you feel foggy. The solution is not to blame mornings, but to deliberately activate your mind and body in those first minutes. That activation is like flipping the switches in a control room. One for movement, one for hydration, one for light, one for breathing, one for mental focus. When you flip them on in sequence, your energy rises quickly and naturally. Start with movement, even if it's small. The moment you get out of bed, stand tall, stretch your arms overhead, rotate your neck gently, twist your torso side to side, and take a few steps. Within a minute or two, you can do a simple routine, a few squats, gentle lunges, shoulder rolls, or light yoga stretches. This is not a full workout, it is a wake-up signal. As your muscles move and your heart rate lifts slightly, blood flow increases to your brain, helping to clear the heavy feeling. Next, hydrate. After hours without water, your body is often mildly dehydrated, which alone can lower mental clarity and cause early fatigue. Drink a full glass of water as soon as possible, before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else. This simple act helps your digestion, circulation, and alertness. Then expose yourself to light. If you can, open a window, step outside, or at least pull back the curtains. Natural light is best, but even bright indoor light helps. Light entering your eyes tells your internal clock it's morning, reducing melatonin, the sleep hormone, and boosting wakefulness. Combine this with conscious breathing. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, hold briefly, then exhale completely through your mouth for a count of 6 or 8. Repeat this for a few rounds. Deep, intentional breaths flood your system with oxygen and signal your nervous system to become alert yet calm. Finally, activate your mind purposefully. Instead of diving into other people's messages, give yourself a few quiet minutes to journal, read something uplifting, or simply sit and review your intentions for the day. The brain is most open and impressionable in the early morning. What you feed it then will color your thoughts and emotions for hours. A short, consistent activation routine, movement, water, light, breathing, and calm focus can transform how you feel at 5 a.m., turning a groggy struggle into a strong, energized start.
Estás en un ascensor. Entra alguien y suelta, trabajando duro o casi no trabajando, y de pronto preferirías saltar por la ventana. O estás en una fiesta, alguien comenta el clima y sientes que tu alma abandona tu cuerpo. Para algunas personas, la charla trivial es levemente molesta. Para otras, es auténtica tortura. Pero, ¿por qué algunas personas se repliegan físicamente ante la conversación casual, mientras otras viven para eso? La respuesta revela mucho más sobre la psicología humana de lo que imaginas. Primer grupo. Su cerebro está literalmente cableado para rechazarla. Neurocientíficos han descubierto que algunas personas tienen una alta necesidad de cognición. Es decir, su mente ansía profundidad, complejidad, significado. Cuando les preguntas, ¿qué tal tu fin de semana?, su cerebro no oye una pregunta, oye nada, cero contenido. Los estudios muestran que estas personas reciben menos dopamina de una charla superficial. Su cerebro está hambriento mientras tú sirves platos vacíos. Pero aquí viene el giro. Ponlas en una conversación sobre filosofía, ideas, miedo existencial, cualquier cosa real, y se transforman, se encienden. No son antisociales, son alérgicas a las conversaciones que no llevan a ningún lado. Prefieren el silencio a fingir interés por tu trayecto al trabajo. Segundo grupo, la razón es completamente distinta. Para ellos, la charla trivial no es superficial, es una actuación y están agotados. Imagina que están hablando del fin de semana. Fácil, ¿no? Pero en su cabeza está pasando esto. ¿Estoy sonriendo demasiado? ¿Acabo de decir algo raro? ¿Me estarán juzgando? ¿Hago una pregunta ahora o espero? Los psicólogos llaman a esto carga cognitiva. Mientras tú fluyes en la conversación, ellos juegan ajedrez mental, analizando cada palabra, cada gesto, cada silencio. Y aquí viene lo brutal. Como están tan ocupados actuando, no pueden estar presentes de verdad. La charla se siente falsa, desconectada, como si se observaran desde fuera de su propio cuerpo. Con el tiempo, su cerebro asocia a charla trivial con estrés, así que la evitan, no porque odien a la gente, sino porque el costo mental es demasiado alto. Tercer grupo, y este es el más sorprendente, han descubierto algo que casi nadie ve, que la charla trivial es una trampa. Piensa en esto. Alguien pregunta, ¿cómo estás? Y respondes, bien, gracias, aunque por dentro te estés desmoronando. Preguntan por tu fin de semana y das la respuesta estándar para seguir adelante. Desde niños nos entrenan en estos guiones. Y sí, son educados, suavizan la interacción, pero también te dejan atrapado en la superficie para siempre. Nunca conectas de verdad, nunca profundizas. Para las personas que valoran la autenticidad, la charla superficial no solo es aburrida, se siente como mentir. Cada pregunta vacía, cada sonrisa fingida, es una pequeña traición a quienes son en realidad. Los psicólogos llaman a esto autenticidad existencial. Para ellos, la charla trivial no es lubricante social, es una jaula. Y aquí viene algo de lo que casi nadie habla. Las personas que odian el small talk comparten un rasgo extraño. Están cómodas con el silencio, de verdad. La mayoría entra en pánico cuando la conversación se detiene. Corren a buscar cualquier tema para llenar el vacío. Pero estas personas no. El silencio no les asusta, porque han descubierto que muchas veces el silencio es más honesto que las palabras de compromiso. El silencio dice, no necesito actuar para ti. Estoy bien simplemente existiendo aquí. Eso es raro. La mayoría no soporta 30 segundos de quietud sin ponerse nerviosa.